guys, and welcome to another project. This week is probably getting onto my mending pile. I've always got mending and I do not like doing it. And it's funny because some of it is like as simple as just sewing up a hem or fixing a hole, even just putting a button on. Which is probably what I think a large percentage of this pile is just, and like these, I picked these up from an op shop. I thought they were super cute, but the buttons were missing and it does have a little hole in the bottom. So I really want to fix them up. Okay, so there was a little interruption there with the filming, so we'll just rewind and start again. Just ran out of battery, that's all. One of the other projects that I wanted to do was make this a little bit bigger. I bought a size 40 thinking that it would fit my little French Bulldog, but as it turned out there's no stretch in this fabric, so it won't go over his chest. So the plan is to unpick the ribbing at the top and the bottom, and then I'm going to cut it up the middle and I'm going to add in some ribbing into the centre so that it's got that stretch, so that over his head and get his arms in, because that's where I was having the trouble, is it went over his head but I couldn't get it, I could only get one arm in, not the other, because there's just no stretch in it. So that is the plan for this little guy here. I also found this wrap dress, and I just think the colours are fantastic. The sizing's not too big for me, like I would probably get away with the waist and parts, but the top, again, the top half is humongous on me, and the actual overall is too long, so most of this, so there will definitely be some hemming needing to be done because it's way too long, but most of the work is going to be in this top bodice part. It's just too big for me and gives me no shape and doesn't do anything at all, and like the armpits are coming all the way forward, like that's not supposed to do that. So yeah, so the plan on this is to bring it back and reshape the top half and then hem up the bottom half. And then I think that will be a fun summer dress. And then this one, again, is another big sort of overcoat maxi dress thing. Found it on clearance, so it was like, but we only had larges and extra larges left, and I thought it was, I loved the fabric. So at the very least, I figured I could wear it over my togs at the pool like this, or push it back and wear it as a bit of a robe or something. At the very least, length is an issue, but at the most, again, it's just really big in the side here and the top. So as much as I could get away with this fullness in the bottom half of the dress, the top half does still need a bit taken out of it. Otherwise, it's just definitely going to look like a bathrobe on me. So those are my current little alterations and mending pile that I have been avoiding. To be honest, when it comes to mending and alterations, the pile always just grows again, and some things do just end up back at the op shop before I fix them. So after I did my simple mends of adding buttons and hemming some pants, I got onto the dog jumper. It was pretty simple, of just undoing the ribbing at the top and bottom and adding that fabric in the center and then sewing the ribbing back on, and now it happily fits. The first thing I need to do with altering this dress is going to be detaching the top bodice part. So I'm going to undo this stitch here. Alright, so I have unpicked the skirt off of the bodice. As this is the part that is too big for me, I'm actually going to have to unpick all the seams, I think, and just sort of start again, because it's too big in the shoulders as well as in the back and in the front. So I have this feeling that it's all going to just need to be unpicked. While I was unpicking, I thought, well, hopefully all I need to do now is put a bigger seam allowance on. So I'm going to give that a go first and see how that goes. Sorry, I did go ahead a few steps here. The white overlocking is the areas that I have readjusted. So in the top here, I took 1.5 centimeters to 2 centimeters out of the top. The sides, I ended up taking probably about 2.5 to 3.5 centimeters out of the side, which did mean that I had to re-sew in the sleeves. It's pretty cool though, because the sleeve doesn't go all the way down, so it actually was easy enough to match it in and then still just do a fold along that. So now that my bodice is the right size to fit me, I am going to attach the waistband to the bodice. So next I will just sew the waistband pieces back onto the bodice. So there is the waistband on. I just need to gather the skirt in a little bit for the pieces to match. So I've got the dress back into one piece. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. I would have liked to have got the gap here a little bit closer together, and I'm still got to sew down the facing. But the next thing is ready to check out the length on me. I do think it's still going to need a bit hemmed off the bottom. I'm just going to kind of figure out if that's going to be like an inch or if that's going to still be a couple of inches. I am looking at the fact that I'm probably going to have to bring it maybe to taking most of this last blue stripe off. There is my new hemline. You can see at the bit at the bottom how much I cut off for the hem, so I definitely took, I'd say, pretty close to 4 to 5 centimeters off the bottom, but that's just what you have to do when you're a little bit shorter. But all I did for creating a new hem was I overlocked it and then just folded it under. This is the next one I'm going to do. I'm actually going to take all of the height out of the shoulders. Don't like having the huge sleeves it's got here. But if I take it all out of the shoulders, then the waistband can come up. And that means I don't have all the difficulty of redoing all the side here with all its sashing and bias binding. The most challenging thing about taking it all out of the shoulders is that I will need to recut the neckline. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is unpicking the binding on the back of the neck here, and then unpicking the shoulders, working out how much I need to take it down. So I'll need to unpick some of the sleeve here as well, and so I'll need to recut a neckline for that and re-sew this on. It's not too difficult a job, it's just a bit fiddly. Now that I've unpicked all the seams I need to, it's time to work out how much I actually need to take it up. Then I'll probably need to mark the fabric to make sure I've still got all the same shaping. The grey line you can see there is what I'm now going to cut. Here I have cut off 9 centimeters off the top. The next step was to put the neck facing back on, and then I needed to gather up the front shoulders a little bit as they now were slightly bigger than the back shoulders. Here I've pinned them into place. I'm using a seam allowance of 1.5. At this point I tested the height on myself. I was happy with it, so I followed up by overlocking the seam to make it tidy. So the shoulder width was still a little big, so I have added some elastic so that it would gather it in a little bit. So just to recap, on this dress I took some of the width out of the bodice and some of the height out of the top, and then I also had to gather up the skirt at the back. And then with this dress all the work was done in the top shoulder seam. It means that the sleeve was a little bit smaller and that it fits me right on the shoulders now. Thank you for joining me for another project. See you next time.